Okay, let us do the prayer.
Hariboditam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vridavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatva Manusantatamu Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini.
The superimposition is not deliberate.
Or that neutralizing the superimposition. Where you have to start?
Neutralizing the superimposition. Any object of liking can become an object of obsession sooner or later, and therefore a problem. There are books being written today about people who love too much, meaning they cannot love at all. Because they cannot keep an object of love in its proper perspective, it becomes a problem for them. The object of love can consume a person so completely that it becomes an obsession, leading to attempts to control, vying for position, and so on. To neutralize Sobhana Adhyasa, you need to understand the difference between the objective value and the subjective imposition of values upon the object. How is it possible to see the difference? Sankara defines Vairagya here as a capacity to repeatedly see the limitations in unseen objects of enjoyment, meaning here and in the hereafter, Vairagyam Nama Drishta Adrishta Bhogeshu Dosha Darsana Abhyasat Vaitrishniyam.
Yeah, basically what he means, Vaitrishniyam meaning that excessive attachment. Trishna means excessive attachment. So Vaitrishniyam means excessive attachment. You will see the limitation by an object of love. Once it becomes an object of obsession, you will find that it is not helping you. Initially, if it is a simple object of life, there is a sort of a space is there, and you really love a person or love an object, and for its objective value, and you give its due value and use it properly or treat that relationship properly, then it will be nice. But it becomes more and more becomes obsessive. You will find that it is counterproductive. That Vaitrishniyam, total attachment becomes a control. The other person also loses his his freedom. You also lose your love. In the sense, if you are anxious now, you are so obsessed with the relationship, even small thing he or she does, it makes you upset. So so love becomes anything obsessive. We always say, this is precisely what happens. Anything and everything, if you overindulge, that is where the space. That is where the space is required between you and anything you object or deal with. That space comes only when you appreciate the space. You have a value for that space. Whatever it may be, I, the being, and whatever I am dealing with, I need this space. Generally we say in relationship also, over a period of time, I need space, don't crowd me and all that we generally say. Nowadays it is modern language also, I need space and all that. But the space is not by asking, it is by maturity in your way of dealing with how you don't allow the relationship to become an obsession. And then you don't ask for space. Wait, all the time, be alert. Be alert. The apramata is the most important part. So that an object of love, an object of appreciation remains an object of appreciation. Like a rose, I like that rose. Immediately you pluck it and put it on your table. What happens? Because of obsession, it fades away faster than it would have faded when it is in the plant. At least in the plant, it would have enjoyed for 2 days. So this is called obsession. It's a simple example, but the fact is, we do it without that is because there is no deliberation. That is why he says there is no deliberation. We automatically allow our love to become attachment without any deliberation. We are not alert. And then later we complain, it creates a problem and all. That's what he's trying to say. So, Vairagyam nama drishta adrishta bhogeshu dosha darshana abhyasat vaistishniyam. In the sense, the dosha darshanam, by doing the superimposition, the too much of attachment, you must see the dosha as it happens. That is Vairagyam. Vairagyam is not after, it's a disposition. It is a dispassion, it is a dispassionate attitude which you have, you develop, not towards one object or another object, generally. So, even one of the sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, that adhikaritvam also is said, Shankara himself says, Iha amutra phala bhoga trishna, avoiding that. Meaning, whatever it may be, Iha amutra meaning, even Swarga or whatever Punya Palam and all that, nowhere you must have that sort of too much of attachment. Just do, okay, Punya Karma, you do for the good of the family and all that, your Punyam will accrue. But don't get attached, don't start counting your Punya all the time. They always say, no, don't, count your eggs before it is hatched and all that. These are all there in our own language, it is there, but we don't pay attention to it. We just allow it to grow on us and later complain. That is what we should avoid. That is Vairagyam is saying. Vairagyam is seeing the absence of the connection between why you want to have all these things. What for? The purpose itself should not be lost. No. Seeing the absence of connection between what you want and what you are doing, the process. If you become obsessed means, the way in which it is supposed to have helped you, it becomes counterproductive. So see that absence of connection. The connection is we should not just mechanically get attached to things. That is what he is saying. He is asking us to avoid this. That is Vairagyam. That's all. It is not Vairagyam means not throwing away. You don't have to throw away money, but have an objective value for it. Use it. It's useful for buying and doing certain things. That's all. You can't say that it will make me more secure, give me higher status in life. That is all superimposed adhyasa value. That will go away. If you have that adhyasa, that will definitely create you trouble, if not today, tomorrow. Those are the things we have to be alert to. Yeah.
Here, limitations refer to what a given object can and cannot give. Any object has some gunas, virtues, and doshas, defects or limitations. Therefore, you must see these limitations clearly. For example, money can buy, but cannot make you enjoy. Seeing this is what makes you dispassionate. Once you are dispassionate, then your relationship with money is proper. It's an objective relationship, which is what we are talking about. Seeing things as they are. The capacity to look at things as they are is called objectivity. There is no judgment involved here, just an understanding of things as they are. This objectivity is especially important in terms of our subjective values because we do not know the objects of these values as they really are. We are not concerned here with the physical structure of objects, only with the value we impose upon them. When I look at a given object, I see that there are a lot of projections involved. Therefore, I see these projections for what they are and I deal with them. By separating them in this way, I can look more objectively at how the object is going to make my life any better than it is now. Doing this again and again is abhyasa, and seeing the limitations of the objects is vairagya. Repetition is essential because the subjective value does not go away just like that. This is because the value is something that is not deliberately imposed upon the object by you. Suppose you buy a piece of bronze thinking it's an antique. In fact, it has been oxidized to make it look very old. An ear has been cut, the nose poked, and some scratches put on to make it look as though it has fallen down a few times. All of this has been deliberately done to increase its value. And you buy it, thinking it's an ancient piece. And when you realize that it's not an antique, you're disappointed and experience a sense of loss. Now, what did you lose here? Only the subjective value that you had superimposed on it. The bronze does have a certain objective value. Thinking it is an antique, you had placed a subjective value on it. That subjective value has little or nothing to do with the objective value of the object. To think of a simple piece of bronze as something great is purely subjective, nothing more. People do the same thing with blue jeans, buying new jeans that have been made to look old. These jeans may even come with patches. Why? To make it look as though you have been around, for which you are prepared to pay a higher price. Again, this is a purely a subjective value. From this we can understand the difference between the objective and the subjective value of an object. Previously, you looked at the piece of bronze as an antique, and now knowing that it's not an antique, you look at it as bronze. The object itself is the same as when you bought it. It had no ear then and it has no ear now. Only in your look is there a change. For all you know, it may be an antique. Perhaps the person who told you that it is not wants to take it off your hands and sell it for a fortune. If this were to happen, you would feel like a fool if you find out, of course. In the realm of the subjective value, anything is possible. The point I am making here is that if the vision of the object as an antique goes away, then the attitude you will have is dispassion towards the object. If it is an antique, it's an antique. There is no problem. You simply look at it as an antique. That society has jacked up the price because of the subjective value placed upon it need not concern you at all. Whereas if you are an antique collector, everything about you becomes antique. There are people who want to collect and own certain objects to the point that it becomes an obsession with them. They call it an investment, but they will not part with it. For something to be an investment, you have to be able to sell it. But they will not sell because they have developed such an attachment for the object. There is no investment here. There is only new problem that has been created. Only when the antique buddhi goes away, when the person can look at the object objectively, can there be vairagya. Now, the same thing happens. People living in very old houses, they feel great about the value of that house. But we always say, you will realize the value only when you sell it. Until then, it's a waste.
Yeah, that is always there. I tell you, it's all notional. In the sense, price has doubled, price has become 4 times. See, you have got only one house to live. If then anyway, when you have got a big family, you are going to live there. You are not going to go away. Then what? So you can say, okay, my asset value has increased. It can, suppose something happens, I can sell off and go on. This is all notional. That is why it's all a notional value. And notional value is what is called subjective value. Even notional value will be of, that's what Swamiji says. Even a notional value will help only if you are able to sell it. But if you are so obsessed that you can never sell it, even the notional value will not help. That's what they say. Eventually, so finally, at the end of the day, the whole thing is subjective, which is what I was trying to tell. Since we think that is Vyavahara means there are objects around, we are dealing with it, it has got usefulness, and we think that in the sense it is born in time, it has got a certain use, and we are dealing with it. How can you call it unreal? But why we say Shastra, why it is said unreal? Because 90% of what we say is all in the mind. It's all in the mind. So when it is all in the mind and it keeps changing, the mind, the object outside keeps changing, and the mind subjective value keeps changing. When that is the case, that you are living in the subjective value, that is pradibhasikam, not vyavaharikam. Shastra talks about clay pot. Clay is cause and pot is object. So clay is real. But here in our own vyavahara, we don't even look at clay as clay. We have got our own object, subjective value towards clay and whatnot. So vyavahara is not in our psyche. We are more and more living in a subjective value, not on an objective value. That is where even Vyavahara becomes a problem. Even though Vyavahara we have to deal with, Vyavahara becomes a problem because we are living in the mind. So it's more like a dream, more like a movie. That's what I am trying to say. You are living your life, waking life, like in a movie. For movie and dream, you can get away with it. Once you wake up, you are out of it. But here, you are day in and out throughout your life, your waking life, you are living like a movie. Just imagine the tragedy. You can't get out of it also. That is where the objectivity is very important. That is where this dispassion and vairagya is very important. More of yadhartham, which we all normally use in our day-to-day life, as it is. How much of our life we are living as it is, you tell me honestly. 90% of the day, we are not living on yadhartham. We are living on ayathartham. Other than what is yadhartham? Subjectivity. So if we reduce the subjectivity in our life, make more and more objectives towards small things and later big things, later relationships, slowly then we are emotionally mature. That is called emotional growth. Vairagya is nothing but one's emotional growth. That's what he says. That itself will make us be alert, alert to the situation, don't get overwhelmed by the situation, good or bad. Then your mind the infrastructure also is in good shape. Then when you read about the higher truths of life, it will stay with you. It will not go away. Once the class is over, it goes away. Why? Because you get overwhelmed by the other things. Your lifestyle is not congruent to the inner infrastructure is not congruent to what you study. That is why that is important. Living a life, living the learning is important. These are values and all are important because of that reason. Gives you that is what Karma Yoga is all about. The whole thing is creating an infrastructure wherein we are able to allocate our time for study and introspection and claim the higher truth of life. That is what we should move for. That is what we are studying for. Yeah.
Swamiji, is it the same with ego of a person and also status symbol?
Yes. All are subjective values, basically. They are all very subjective. It's all, once you retire, the next day, your own assistant will look at you differently. So, all these years you have cherished your position and status. If you are alert to that, okay, it is a role play I am doing. As long as I am doing, I will get this respect, everything, it's all fine. But I am not really bothered about the respect and other things. What I deliver, what I contribute, how much I contribute to the people who are working under me, to the organization. That is what is my objective understanding. Whatever that comes along with that, the paraphernalia, the pelf and power and pouch, what we call, all that will not give importance, will not give a subjective value. So Swamiji used to say, there are people after retirement within a year or two they die. Because internally they have carried so much of about this position and power and all that. Once it is withdrawn from them, they become internally nobody. They're all very psychological issues. Now, in America and all, it's all there. That's why they say, once a person is leaving the job, along with him a counselor is sent. Because it's all, we are living more internally rather than the objective value of life or money or position or power and whatnot. That is what we are trying to avoid. That is why he says, Gita is a super therapist, honestly. Bhagavan is our super therapist. You don't have to go anywhere else. Yeah.
Vairagya is nothing but one's emotional growth. When a subjective value superimposed upon an object is gone, then the object is just the object. This holds for all objects. That there is sobhana adhyasa, a superimposition that has taken place naturally, an extra attribute that does not really exist in the object has to be recognized. Therefore, again and again, you see the object as it is, and in the wake of this knowledge, the superimpositions go. This does not mean that you need to continually remind yourself that is not an antique, this is not an antique, this is not an antique. Such a japa you need not do. But with reference to money, power, and the acceptance of others, abhyasa and vairagya are both necessary. Seeing the limitations of objects and situations over and over again, it is very important if one is to master the mind. Repetition is necessary because the superimposition is not a deliberate thing. It is not a mistake that you have made by taking something to be more valuable than it is. If it were a mistake, a one-time correction is adequate. Then there is objectivity. But here, it is not by a one-time mistake that there is superimposition. It is by your being what you are, a psychological being, very firmly noted in terms of your concept of success. All concepts of success and vairagya, dispassion, are within the range of psychology alone. Vairagya is nothing but the emotional growth of the person. Growth is strictly in terms of understanding of the limitations of an object or situation again and again until superimposition falls apart. Then the world does not have a hold over you. Otherwise, the mind runs towards certain objects naturally because they have been given such importance by the society. There is some pain involved with reference to certain old objects, what you could not get before, what you have lost in the past, which can cause problems in the mind. Whereas if vairagya is there, the old failures, those things that were the sources of some pain for you, fall apart, and new objects also do not have any hold over you. This is what is meant by seeing the limitations, dosha darshana, again and again, thereby bringing about a cognitive change, which frees the mind to a greater extent. The mind that is always chattering, always preaching, that is in the form of agitation, being away from the dhyaya, the object of meditation, Atma, is difficult to master. Mastered by Abhyasa and Vairagya. However, you cannot simply sit there and expect the mind to take care of itself. You have to pay some attention to it, as Krishna says here. Krishna, do you want to read?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Asamyatatmana yogo dushprapayiti me matihi vashyatmana to yatata shankyo vaptu mupayataha. Actually, my internet failed. That's why I joined late for the class. Sorry. Asamyata atmana, by the one for whom the mind is not mastered, yoga, dushprapa, difficult to gain, iti, thus, me, my, matihi, vision, tu, whereas, vashyatmana, by the one whose mind is mastered, yatata, by the one who makes effort, upayataha, with proper means, that is practice and objectivity, avaptum, sakyaha, it can be gained. Yoga is difficult to gain for the one by whom the mind is not mastered. This is my vision. Whereas it can be gained by the one whose mind is mastered, who makes effort with the proper means, that is practice and objectivity. One who does not practice meditation, abhyasa, and one who does not have objectivity, vairagya, is called asamyata atma in this verse, meaning that the mind is not brought under control. Can the mind be brought under control? Yes, Krishna says, but with difficulty. It is dushprapa. Dushprapa.
Obtaining with difficulty. Yeah.
Dushprapa. Furthermore, unless the mind is mastered, it is not possible to gain the yoga being discussed here, the capacity to see the sameness that exists in all beings and in which all beings exist. What Krishna says here is his vision, mati, which is not the same as an opinion, since it is not something that can be contended and dismissed. By the practice of abhyasa and vairagya, the mind is brought into one's own hands, which is why the person who can do this is also called Vashya Atma here. Such a person is always alert. Alertness is something that should always be with you, not something practiced for a period of time. For example, do not say that you practiced alertness for 6 years and it was very good, Just as you cannot say you practice breathing for 6 years. It is not as though you give up breathing after having practiced it for some time. It is your very life. Alertness is the same. By such a person who continues to maintain this alertness, yatata, by the one who has a mastery over his mind, vashyatmana, it is possible to gain the vision of sameness, yogaha avaptum sakya. Krishna mentions in this verse that this yoga is gained by a particular means, upayataha. What does that mean? Upaya, abhyasa and vairagya are the means for gaining this vision, as Krishna had already told Arjuna. Because abhyasa and vairagya are the means, Arjuna's gaining the yoga was no longer in Krishna's hands because he has already covered the subject matter. Now, it is something that has to be done, and it is up to Arjuna to do it. He has to pay attention to his mind. Krishna had said everything he could say. There was nothing more to be taught, only something to be done. Vairagya and Abhyasa would take care of any problems, any obstructions to gaining this knowledge. This is why Krishna does not say very much about the doing of it. When there is something to be discussed like the Vastu, Brahma, Atma, then one can talk indefinitely, which is what Krishna does, and which is why there are 18 chapters of the Gita. But here, there is something to be done now by Arjuna, therefore Krishna leaves it at that. You will find that Krishna talks a lot about Atma, about the wise person, about the vision, but when it comes to meditation, which is to be done, there are only a few verses because it is something to be done. Whenever there is something to be done, Krishna states it briefly and adequately and then continues on. Whereas, wherever something is to be unfolded, he goes on and on because it is something that has to be understood, not something that has to be done. Verse 37 to 39, Arjuna presents another problem that is purely imagined. Arjuna uvacha ayat shraddhayopeto yoga chalita manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddham kamgatim krishna gacchati. Arjuna uvacha said, Krishna, O Krishna, Shraddhaya, with faith in the Shastra, Upetaha, endowed, Ayatihi, one of inadequate effort, Yogat, from yoga, Chalita Manasaha, one whose mind wanders away, Yoga Samsiddhim, success in yoga, Aprapya, not gaining, Kam Gatim Gacchati, to which end does he or she go? Arjuna said, the one who is endowed with faith in the Shastra, but whose effort is inadequate, and whose mind wanders away from yoga, have not gained success in yoga. Having not gained success in yoga, Krishna, to which end does he or she go? Just look at Arjuna's question. Suppose there is a man who has renounced all karmas, meaning Vaidika karmas and Laukika karmas, all the spiritual, social and family duties that he is allowed to give up if he takes to a life of renunciation, sannyasa. Why does anyone give up all this? In the hope of what? The hope of gaining this yoga, the vision of Atma in all beings, and all beings in Atma, Samadarshana, he gives up all type of karma. This particular vision was the end in view, and the person Arjuna was talking about became a sannyasi. As a sannyasi, the person denies himself the various pleasures that can be picked up by living in the society and becomes a bhikshu, a person who lives on alms. He has no money and does not know from where his next meal will come. That is, he lives on whatever comes his way. But although he does not have the pleasures that a life of samsara would have given him, renunciation is a good investment because he is going to get the great vision, liberation, moksha. It was for the sake of moksha alone that he gave up the other three human pursuits, dharma, artha and kama. The person has great shraddha in the vision of the Shastra and the possibility of his gaining the knowledge of Brahman, Atma, is definitely there. He knows that this knowledge is the moksha that he seeks. In the hope of gaining this knowledge, he is taken to the life of sannyasa and continues to be a sannyasi. In time, however, having not yet gained the knowledge, he becomes frustrated. He may have started his pursuit when he was very young and now he is old. Something has prevented him from gaining the knowledge. The teaching may not have been proper, or perhaps he did not have enough inspiration. Or the problem may have been from the past, some backlog, some obstacle from the past. Having reached this point, although he still has Shraddha, he is now an ayati, meaning that he does not have adequate effort. Yati means a person of effort, one who has the capacity to make right effort, which is why a sannyasi is called a yati. The person has a direction and is committed to a life of renunciation in pursuit of self-knowledge. But the sannyasi Arjuna was talking about cannot be called a yati. He has become an ayati because adequate effort is not there and he does not know what it is and is incapable of that effort. That the effort is not adequate is very clear. Why? Because the problems continue. Things are not very clear to the person and therefore he is ayati. He may have studied and done a lot of meditation, but all that he has accomplished is to become more aged, tired and frustrated, chalita manasa. Arjuna wanted to know what would become of this tired, frustrated sannyasi. He has Shraddha and therefore he wants this knowledge. The things are not clear to him at all. Now, Arjuna's doubt is, what would be his lot if he dies away before gaining this knowledge? Therefore, Arjuna asks, what does he gain? Kam gatim, Krishna gacchati. We know very well what his lot in this life is. He is neither the joys of samsara nor the joy of moksha. The small pleasures of samsara are denied to him and also the pleasures of heaven, since he gave up karmas that would earn him such pleasure in the hope of gaining jnana. And he does not get jnana either. What then? Is he just left hanging somewhere? A person who performs no karma obviously cannot gain the results of karma. Therefore, there is no karma bala for him. Instead of performing karma, he spent his time sitting with his eyes closed, but nothing happened inside except sleep perhaps. And nothing can be accomplished by sleep. Dreaming or daydreaming at least gives a person a kick. But what does sleep give? Nothing. Therefore, ayati has not picked up any of the simple joys of samsara. Nor has he picked up any punya for the next life, much less has he gained the knowledge that is liberation. Does the person whose mind wanders away from yoga just fizzle out? Will he become like a cloudlet that has become separated from a body of clouds? Will he just disappear, fizzle out? In this kingdom lost and the promised kingdom as well.
Is the kingdom lost?
Is this kingdom lost and the promised kingdom as well? For the sannyasi of inadequate effort who has died, moksha is gone and samsara is also gone, there being no accrued punya. While both of them gone, what will happen to him? Where will he go? Of course, this was an imagined situation on Arjuna's part. He was not himself a sannyasi, but perhaps he planned to become a sannyasi. This did seem to be on his mind, as we saw earlier in the Gita. In any case, Arjuna wants to know exactly what would happen to the one who did not gain the vision. Although this was not Arjuna's immediate problem, his question was a relevant one in terms of understanding what the Shastra has to say about sannyasa and karma yoga. Arjuna knew Krishna to be all the knowledge, Ishvara, and therefore qualified to remove this particular.
No. Arjuna knew Krishna to be the all-knowledge Ishvara. Yeah.
Arjuna knew Krishna to be the all-knowledge Ishvara and therefore qualified to remove this particular doubt. No one else was equal to Krishna, only he could answer this question, which was not a simple one, dealing as it did with what happens after one's life, as we know it comes to an end. Arjuna says, please tell me, Krishna, where does such a person go who has not gained success in yoga in the form of gain of knowledge? Aprapya yoga, samsiddhin kam gatim, Krishna gacchati. Where knowledge?
Prapya yoga samsiddhim kim gatim Krishna gacchati. That's how he is asking. Yeah.
Kim gatim, is it?
Yeah. Kim. Sorry. Kam gatim, not kim. Kam gatim. Aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati.
Kam
Yeah.
gatim Krishna gacchati. When knowledge is gained, moksha is gained. Which is why knowledge is called a means for moksha. Because between the knowledge and moksha, there is a connection of means and end. Sadhana sadhya sambandha. Arjuna wants to know what happens to the person who, having Shraddha in the vision, renounces everything and lives a life of yoga but does not gain the knowledge that is moksha. Having denied himself the pleasures of samsara and also those of the other world, the person has been performing this yoga meditation for a long time now. Now he is very old and is dying away. He has given up all hope of gaining any more in his life, let alone the knowledge that he has pursued for so long. What will happen to him? Will he not be completely destroyed? Arjuna puts this question to Krishna in the next verse. Venkat uncle, you want to continue? Okay. Kaschino bhaya vibrashta chinna brahmiva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vinuto brahmana patihi brahmana pati.
Prashant,
Yeah.
I'll continue.
Okay. You are, read the verse once again. Yeah.
Prashant, I will continue. Actually, I have some problem with the Skype since the beginning, so that's why some problem. Now I will read.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will read.
Okay.
Shall I read?
Yeah.
Kaschinno bhaya vibrashtas chinnabhramiva nashyati.
Kachinno bhaya vibrashtaha. Like that you can split. That yes can be.
Kachinno
Yeah.
Kachinno bhaya vibrashtah chinnabhramiva nashyati apratishto mahabaho udho brahmana pati. Mahabaho, O mighty armed Krishna, Brahmana, Brahmana Pati.
Brahmana Pati meaning path. Yeah. Brahmana Pati.
Brahmana Pati.
Yeah.
Brahmana Pati, in the path, knowledge of Brahman, Vimudaha, the one who is deluded, Apratishtaha, one who is without any support, Ubhaya Vibrashtaha, one who has fallen from both, Chinna Abram Iva, like a cloudlet torn asunder. Kashit na nashyati. Is he not destroyed? Deluded in the path or knowledge of Brahman, one who has fallen from both, being without any support, not destroyed, O mighty armed Krishna, like a cloudlet torn asunder. The person being discussed here is the same sannyasi described previously by Arjuna as Ayati, one whose effort has not been adequate to gain the knowledge that is moksha. Udaya Vibrashta refers to the one who has fallen away from both lifestyles, karma yoga and sannyasa. This person has fallen away from the way of life called karma marga or karma yoga. This karma yoga is a life activity in which one also pursues the knowledge. The purpose of this lifestyle is to make one ready eventually to pursue knowledge by taking to a life of sannyasa. Because he has slipped away from karma marga, the person is called vibrashta with reference to the karma marga, and the life of renunciation, yoga marga, Brahmana, Brahmana, Brahmana Pantha.
Brahmana nahi, Brahmana Pantha. Brahmana Pantha means
Brahmana Pantha. Okay.
Brahmana is the Brahman is the subject matter. Brahmanaha Pantha. Pantha means path towards Brahma Jnanam. That is what it means. Brahmanaha Pantha. Yeah.
Brahmana Pantha, for which he gave up Karma Marga, has also proved to be abortive, fruitless. Therefore, in both he is the loser. From both he has fallen away. He is Ubhaya Abrashta. Ubhaya Vibrashta. Having fallen away from both, where will he go now? He cannot go back to Karma Marga because he is perhaps too old to do anything. Besides, it is not proper to go from sannyasa to Karma Marga. Nor does he have any enthusiasm to do so because he knows the anityatva of it all. Any enthusiasm he may have had for a life of samsara as an aviveki, one without discrimination, is all gone, and he does not have the satisfaction of being a jnani, a wise man, either. Therefore, he is abhaya
Ubhaya hanging in the middle. In Hindi they say no, na garka na gatka. That is what it means.
Hanging somewhere in the middle with no place to go. He cannot identify with the wise sannyasis forthwith, nor with the ordinary people. Not only does he have no place, no group to identify with, he is also deluded vimuda. He is also a deluded vimuda. He either feels he has made a mistake or he feels confused about whether he is a jiva, an individual, or param brahma. Since this doubt remains, he has not accomplished anything by having taken to this path, this pursuit of knowledge, of the knowledge Brahman. There is no path to Brahman. Shankara clarified the meaning of the word pati in the path in his commentary of this verse by adding the word marga, thereby indicating that the lifestyle of sannyasa is what is implied here. There is no way, no path to Brahman as such. You are Brahman, and to gain this knowledge of Brahman, there is a pursuit, the pursuit of knowledge, and in this pursuit, the sannyasi under discussion is deluded vimuda. Thus, deluded in the path of Brahman means that in gaining the knowledge of Brahman, a pursuit of that knowledge, he is still confused, still deluded. Does such a person not destroy himself? Dasyati nakim? Asking this question, Arjuna compared the destruction to that of a cloudlet that has separated itself from a large body of clouds. Chinna Abram Iva. Chinna
Abram Iva. Chinna means separated. Abram means cloud. Iva as though.
Chinna Abram Iva. Not wanting to wait for the big body of clouds, perhaps this cloudlet separates itself in its haste to reach the Himalayas, where it can sit on the top of the mountains and not to be disturbed. Instead, somewhere in the middle of India, tossed about by howling winds, or just disappears, fizzles out. So too, this person had dropped out of conventional society in his attempt to reach moksha quickly. He may even have gone to sit in the rarefied air of the Himalayas, but instead of becoming a true sannyasi, he became a dropout, just like the cloudlet. Does he not destroy himself in the same way that the cloudlet does? Just as a cloudlet that remains with the large body of the clouds can travel along and enjoy the view, so too you can attach yourself to the main body of society and have some of the joys that such a life was to offer. The cloudlet that is prepared to travel at the same slow speed as the big body of clouds can look down to the mountains, up at the stars, and be protected by winds of destination, otherwise it gets destroyed. Destruction. By winds of destruction, otherwise it gets destroyed. If there is no structure, you can become anything. Similarly, when you hurry ahead, you can become completely lost in the process because you have left the structure behind. Sannyasa means just that. No structure. No structure. You can become anything without a structure, without any particular mode of life, nothing to pressure you into doing anything. You can become lazy too. Lazy also. As a sannyasi, you can also become lazy. When you are hungry, you can go for bhiksha and then lie down back again without doing anything. The life of a sannyasi gives you this kind of license. No one is going to question you. Society is not going to question you. And since there is no work for you to do, there is no employer or employee. There is also no father or mother to worry about you, which sometimes keeps people on track. If a sannyasi once had a wife and children, he has given them up also. Therefore, none of the societal norms are there for this sannyasi. Nor is there any religious norm. Because the person who takes sannyasa is absolved from performing all the karmas enjoined by the Veda. Therefore, there is no problem. You can be anything you want. You can do anything you want, even a hippie. Thinking that such a person destroys himself, Arjuna asked Krishna to clear his doubt with reference to the fate of the Ubhaya Vibrasta. Verse 39. Etan me samshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshatah.
Chetum arhasya sheshatah.
Chetum arhasya sheshatah. Twadanyasasya yasyasya chetanahya pahyate.
Tvadanyaha samshayasyasya chetana hi upapadyate. Chetana hi upapadyate. He means emphasis. He is the emphasis here. Samshayasyasya chetana hi upapadyate. Yeah.
Krishna, meaning Krishna, oh Krishna, may me of mine, etat, this, samshayam, doubt, ashoshatah,
Without any balance. Shesha means balance. Asheshatah means without any balance. Totally.
Asheshatah, totally. Chetum, to eliminate. Arhasi, you should. He for. Tvadanyaha, other than you. Asya samshayasya. Asya samshayasya. Of this doubt. Cheta, the remover. Na upapadyate is not there. You should eliminate this doubt of mind totally, O Krishna. For other than you, there is no one who can be the remover of this doubt. Arjuna knows that there was no one else who could answer this question. Only the all-knowing Krishna as Ishvara could answer it, because only Ishvara knows what will happen in the sannyasi after he dies. To the sannyasi after he dies away from this life without gaining knowledge of the self. Cheta means the one who cuts or removes. Here it refers to the one who removes the doubt. Krishna then was the hitman for the doubt. In fact, only possible hitman. He also was capable of eliminating. He alone was capable of eliminating Arjuna's doubts totally. Anyone else would have to say this is what this Shastra says. Whereas Krishna is the one who initiated the Shastra itself. As he said at the beginning of the 4th chapter, I gave this eternal knowledge to Vivaswan, who gave it to Manu, who gave it to Ikshwaku, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Vivaswan Manave
Prata Manu Ishwakave Bravid. So Manu has given it to Ishwaku. He handed over the knowledge generation after generation. That is what he is telling. He has himself told, Bhagavan himself has told, this is how I have handed over from the beginning of this kalpa, this is how I have given this knowledge away to all my Sishyas and Putras, handed over generation after generation. Yeah, as a person who has initiated this knowledge right from the beginning, he says that you are the right person and I am the right person who can clear this doubt once and for all. For you means all Sishyas also, generally. People have this doubt because this sort of a thing will not be discussed in Upanishad and all that. Upanishad straight away tells what is the truth and leaves it. Only Gita, these are all something unique about Gita. And because there are certain doubts in the society which Vyasa, through the mouth of Krishna, is clearing it for people. There is nothing called Ubhaya Prashna and all, he will explain. Yeah, just to explain what is the status of the people. Once you take this pursuit, and if you are not able to complete it, what happens and all that, he is saying it's still a blessing only. That's what he is trying to say. Yeah.
Therefore, Krishna as Ishvara knew what it was about. He also told Arjuna earlier that they had a number of births before, but only Krishna knew these births, while Arjuna did not. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa.
Tani aham veda, all those births aham veda I know, but sarvani, that is all the births I know, natvam veda, but you don't know parantapa, Arjuna.
From this, Arjuna concludes that Krishna knows what happens to a soul after death and therefore is the right person to talk about it. Arjuna is praising his guru here, saying that there was no one equal to Krishna, no one who could eliminate his doubt totally. In other words, no one else is qualified to answer his question. Had Arjuna not asked this question, the Gita would have ended 3 verses ago. But because Arjuna asked this question, Krishna begins talking again. See Bhagavan Vacha.
We'll stop here.
We'll stop here and start next week. Will be the right place to stop also. Because anyway, this part, the way of Prashta and all, Bhagavan will tell that he will not, nobody loses. In this pursuit, nobody loses. You will be born again. Even if you are born, you will be born in a good family where you will be able to pursue this knowledge. Like any other samskara, this will not leave you. You can continue. You don't have to worry about it. That is how he is going to pacify Arjuna. Of course, in general, for all the people who are to pursue this.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate.